Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with yet another Varus updated complete guide. Today we're taking a look at the on-hit AP hybrid. Now of course we all know that Varus did get nerfed in the latest patch, and his W is now a lot weaker in terms of he has a half% less max health damage on his W at all ranks, as well as the AP scaling getting halved. So of course it's going to be a little bit weaker than what he had in the previous patch, but honestly I think that Varus is still a really strong champion, and we're going to jump straight into taking a look at his loadout. So first up we have the items. Of course, the first half you're going to go for is the on-hit portion. So you of course go for Shield Bow and Phantom Dancer. Now of course those two items did also just get nerfed. Shield Bow's shield is becoming less. It's only up to 500 when it used to be 700 at max crit. But honestly, with only 2 crit items, it's of course you're not gonna reach 500 in the first place, but either way is you're getting less of a shield, less vamp, as well as Phantom Dancer giving slightly less attack speed. And I think the Phantom Dancer giving less attack speed and costing a little bit more is fine. I think that Shield Bow nerfs probably hits a little bit harder, as I mentioned in my patch rundown. But anyways, we still go for that classic Shield Bow Phantom Dancer combo, which gives you the requisite amount of AD attack speed, and just essentially just on hit. So after that, I like to go for Lucidity Boots because of course you're going to transition into AP and your cooldowns become very important, especially your W cooldown, which is important for both on hit as well as AP, because on hit obviously boosting your on hit damage, and AP obviously your main source for AP is popping the W and then breaking your W passive, the blight stacks, and then of course dealing a huge burst of damage. So for your third item, you actually go for Nashor's Tooth. Now the interesting thing here is that Nashor's Tooth actually becomes an AD item because you have 2 AD items already. Nashor's Tooth actually gives you AD. So this actually is a temporary transition where even though you're building Nashor's Tooth, which is basically gonna be an AP item later on, you're actually getting AD. Now this makes it a lot better because in this transition, the on-hit variant of Varus actually becomes really strong because of course the Nashor's Tooth does scale with AD as well. So it's gonna scale the AD from Phantom Dancer as well as from Shield Bow, which is of course not a lot, but you're still gonna get that scaling, and you're also gonna do more on-hit damage with Nashor's Tooth. So after you get Nashor's Tooth, you go for of course the Riftmaker, which of course is going to give you that true damage, the Omni-Vamp, as well as the AP ability haste and a little bit of health. Now, this 80, not 80 ability haste, 80 ability power is going to convert Nashor's Tooth into an AP item because you only get 40 plus 25, which is 65 AD from your first 2 items. So that one item, Riftmaker, is going to convert the Nashor's Tooth into an AP item, and this is the point where you can of course ult someone and just one-shot them instantly with that AP burst. And to top it off, because we want that AP burst, we cannot build an AD item as our last, and we have to build an AP item. Because obviously if we build any AD item, the 65 plus any AD item is going to be more than 80, so it's going to convert back to AD, which is not what we want. So the most logical item to build here is going to be the Death Cap, of course, which increases your burst even more. However, sometimes you don't actually need the Death Cap because sometimes the burst by this point is already enough. So in certain matches, you can actually, instead of going for Death Cap, you can actually go instead for something like Runan's Hurricane, for example, because it is an AD item. It helps apply stacks onto multiple people at one time, of course tying into that AP aspect of bursting them down, but at the same time it gives you attack speed and crit, and this is good for 2 reasons. Number 1, it doesn't give you any AD, so it doesn't convert Nashor's Tooth back into an AD item. Number 2, it of course is another crit item, which gives you a larger shield from Shield Bow. And of course, number 3, as I mentioned, it allows you to stack onto 3 people at the same time. Of course, when you pop the stacks, you're going to do a huge amount of burst damage. So now we're going to talk about the runes. So we're obviously going to take Conqueror because we don't need Lethal Tempo for attack speed. We can also take Kraken Slayer, but I personally like taking Conqueror to give myself more of the AD in the beginning and then AP at the later stages, as well as the Vamp. And of course, Hunter Vampirism for of course more Vamp. This is going to be particularly useful in the earlier stages of the game, especially because it later on is going to convert to AP, and you don't actually deal that much AP damage, at least not in a continuous fashion. Of course, we have the bone plating for the anti-burst and also for laning. And in the past couple of Varus videos, I mentioned between Sweet Tooth and Mana Flow Ban, but after going for a couple matches with Sweet Tooth, I started going for Mana Flow Ban, and I found it to be way better because it kind of resolves your mana issues almost completely, whereas Sweet Tooth kind of doesn't really. So I guess Sweet Tooth in the end is not as good as I thought it was, so Mana Flow Ban is definitely the way to go. And for the spells, you can go for Ghost and Flash. Most of the time, it's better to go for Ghost, unless you need the exhaust to counter a certain champion in your team. For example, Tristana, Kai'Sa, exhaust is a requirement. If not, you're going to just get bursted by them the moment they jump in on you. And aside from that, if there are no such champions, Ghost is the better default spell. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to talking about the gameplay. Okay, now moving on to the gameplay. Now, of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will be sure to address them or drop a like on it. Now, another thing is, of course, be sure to check out Varus's basic guide that I will link up in the cards above to, of course, check out his skills, tips and tricks, combos, leveling order, etc. So, now, of course, we're going to be playing this hybrid version of Varus. So now, why is this hybrid version of Varus good, and how does it compare to the on-hit and the burst versions of Varus? Well, basically, you get the best of both worlds. With the on-hit version, of course, you become like a traditional ADC, where you're just auto-attacking people non-stop. And with the burst version, you become almost like a mage, with, of course, a little bit of ADC aspects, because you still get the attack speed from your passive, etc. And with this, instead of having a full one-shot kind of build, or having like a full like just auto-attack kind of build, you kind of just have the best of both worlds. On one hand, you are a pretty good auto-attacker with the first two items, but when you transition into that burst part of the build, you actually can start one-shotting people, and also it helps that you have the attack speed from your first couple of items, so you can easily like use your on-hit to stack up your blight stacks, and then you can pop your W and then burst them down 100 to 0, not 100 to 0, but like, you know, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's sort of just both parts of the build kind of synergize really well with each other, and you basically get the best of both worlds. Now, Varus, as I mentioned in a couple of videos already, is one of the most versatile ADCs at the current moment of the game, because you can really build anything you want on Varus. You can build on hit, you can build AP, you can build lethality, and because of the fact that you can build so much of so many items, you can basically just mix and match, you know, whatever kind of items you like and whatever is best for that game. So in that way, Varus kind of is really good in that respect, and is of course very versatile. So yeah, I've been really enjoying Varus, spamming a lot of Varus, you know, in ever since patch 4.2, and yeah. So as you guys can see from all the Varus videos from the past couple of days as well, then going through the gauntlet of all the Varus builds, and honestly, if you really ask me what is the best build for Varus at this point, testing almost all of the builds, I've also tested a very good amount of the full AP Varus as well. And honestly, if you ask me which is the best version of Varus, the real answer is that there really isn't one, because after testing all of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. Like, for example, how the burst, like AP burst build, can one-shot people so easily. It's one of the most satisfying one-shots like in the game. You just ult W, full charge your Q, and boom, they literally evaporate, especially if they're a squishy target. They can really get 100 to 0, but the issue with that is your DPS is very low. Then you take a look at like something like on hit. On hit does a lot of like continuous DPS damage, but you're not very good at, like, you know, bursting people down, of course. And lethality, of course, you have very good poke, and you are decently good at bursting people down as well, but you are hard countered by tanks because of the fact you're building all lethality, whereas with the AP version and the on hit version, tanks are not so big of an issue because of the percent damage you get from your W. And of course, when you're building AP or like on hit, that's gonna work way better against tanks than if you're building lethality, because lethality of course does not really work against tanks. And then of course we have the mix and match hybrid builds, which of course you can combine multiple good aspects of each different build from Varus, and you can of course combine them together and get the best parts of each build, which is kind of what we're doing today. And we've also covered, you know, some other versions of like hybrid Varus. So anyways, whichever version of Varus you play, generally in lane you still play like, you know, the same, whether you're going on hit lethality or AP. In the early stages of the game, before you actually get any items, you literally play the same way. You just poke with your Q and E, and if you get into an ult in fight, you pop the W, and you know, you just try to burst someone down when they have maximum stacks of blight on them. Works the same way on literally every build, at least for laning phase. It's only when you get to like two items that really your play style really changes according to what items or what build exactly that you have gone. So anyways, Varus laning phase, of course it's pretty tame, nothing really too exciting about Varus's laning phase. Generally just a whole lot of poking, a bunch of short trades, and honestly you only really get kills if your jungler comes and ganks, or the enemy manages to get chunked to like you know, half health or so, and they don't respect your ultimate, and then you catch them with an ulti and then you kill them. Otherwise, majority of the time, Varus lanes generally, you know, end like 0-0-0. You shouldn't be dying either because of your range. So if you're into a hard lane, you generally just want to, like, you know, use your range on your Q to use it to secure minions or to poke them down. And when you poke them down, it's really hard for them to fight you. For example, if you're against like a Draven Leona lane, for instance, if you just stay far away and you just keep poking them down with Q, it's really hard for them to do anything to you at all. So yeah, shouldn't really be dying as a Varus. Of course, if you get like 3-man dive or something like that, you know, can't be helped, but in general, you shouldn't really be dying too much. So here, Shyvana's actually gone for the Herald and gone for the Herald play mid. Here I actually get charmed, and I basically just get destroyed. I managed to get out my ulti before I die, but unfortunately it doesn't really help too much. My team manages to secure the dragon, but everybody kind of dies for it. And this is not really a match where we get off to a very good start. But you know, as I always say, the start of the match, of course, it is important. But just because you started the match bad doesn't mean you're gonna lose. Although in this current meta 4.2 onwards, the game is a lot more snowbally, so getting behind in the earlier stages of the game kind of hurts a lot more. However, once again, the concept still remains the same, regardless of how snowbally the game is or whatnot. Enemy teams very often still make mistakes, and that allows you to capitalize and of course go for game-winning plays. And that's basically why you basically shouldn't really give up on games at all. But anyways, so here we're of course going to continue on with our farming of the minions, and since the enemy team back, we can probably just pick up a plate, or maybe even two, because we of course do have a little bit of extra attack speed from Shilbo as well as the attack damage, so we do take tower a little bit faster than like other variants of Varus, like of course like AP for example. So here Lee Sin actually picks up a double kill, which is pretty nice to get our team kind of back rolling into the game. Our team is kind of falling behind all across the board really, so Lee Sin getting the double kill kind of brings us a little bit back, you know, into the game. And here we've already lost our tower, so we sort of do have to be careful, especially because they do have a Shyvana who, if, you know, Shyvana jumps in on us, we're kind of going to be in trouble. But of course, in the meanwhile, we're just basically taking farm. We can see Shyvana and Ahri are mid. And I don't expect Nasus to be pulling up to our lane for a gank. So for now, we can still maintain a position roughly in the middle of the lane. And here we can actually see Ahri roaming up from mid. You can see her on the vision. So here I'm being really cautious to not really stay there for too long. Now I'm going to actually hit on back. Zeri pops the exhaust and the ulti. Here I managed to pop my ulti, and it manages to spread to basically everybody, and this allows me to basically start DPSing everybody and manage to get the kill on Zeri. I'm running down the Lux with my Ghost, and I am able to pick up the double kill onto Lux, and Lee Sin actually picks up the kill onto, I believe it was either the Ahri or the Zeri. I think it's probably the Ahri, but yeah, either way it ends up working out for us. We end up getting 2 kills and an assist, and that kind of brings us back into the game as well. So we got both components of the Phantom Dancer, and we're able to of course hit back out. So something I noticed with Varus, even when you play passive, most of the time the enemy team is going to make plays, and with your ulti, more often than you think, it kind of just throws a spanner in the works in those plays, because when you're kind of stuck on the spot with an ult that can spread to other enemies, it's kind of trouble for the enemy team, because it's going to stop whoever it is from really doing anything to you, because they're kind of just rooted on the spot. and their teammates are not kind of stuck in an awkward situation as well, because they either have to quickly fall back and get out of the ulti range, or they're gonna have to run forward straight at you. Most of the time, they're still gonna end up getting rooted, and most likely, you know, 1 or 2 people are gonna get hit by a massive damage like arrow following up from the ultimate. So here, I actually see Ahri coming back up. I know I can't run away, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to trade the kill onto the Zeri. I actually do manage to trade the kill onto the Zeri, and Lux actually picks up the kill before Ahri even came, so Ahri doesn't even get an assist, which honestly is probably the most optimal situation that could happen there, since we were basically already dead because of Ahri's roam. No real way of getting out because Ahri has, you know, 3 dashes on her ulti. I would say that, you know, getting a 1-for-1 trade where the support gets the kill and I get the kill and Ahri doesn't get any assists, I think that that's probably the best case scenario of what I could really have done there. But anyways, now Dragon is about to spawn, so obviously we're going to head over to the Dragon, ult about to come back up. Of course, Varus ult is kind of a pretty critical skill, of course, when you're talking about team fights at like Dragon, Heralds, etc. Because with that one ulti, it could change the entire complexion of the match. Here I get hit by the Lux E as well as Ahri Charm. Now, I really wasn't very used to seeing like Dark Cosmic Lux's E. I'm pretty confused by what that is a lot of the time, but thankfully that hasn't really gotten me killed so far. Here, for some reason, Lee Sin decides to jump in onto the enemy Zeri, and because of that, he is dead, and Katarina is now also in trouble, and so am I. A shield bow got popped, and because Lee Sin died, basically this gives the enemy team a free dragon, so it's kind of unfortunate situation there. But not too much, of course, that we can really do about it. So here we're just going to back. We've actually picked up the Merc Treads this game because there's a decent amount of CC on the enemy team, like the Charm from the Ahri or, of course, the Lux Binding, that sort of deal. So here our waves are not in really good position, so instead we're going to go ahead and farm the Wolves. Here we're waiting for Lee Sin to finish off the blue buff, helping him just a little bit, picking up the blue buff. Of course, if you're going any item that's not mana immune, and mana immune is an item you really only go for when you're building full lethality, you are going to be a little bit mana hungry, so getting blue buff is kind of great for Varus. Most of the time it's better than red buff actually. So here we're trying to go for a pincer play on the enemy team. We managed to get the root onto Nasus. Tryndamere finishes off the kill. I popped the ghost there. So here I was kind of just trying to chase down the Zeri. We can see Ahri actually coming to the fight from behind just now. Here she has already reached the fight. Here I'm just trying to kite away and deal damage at the same time. Ends up being not a really good fight. Lee Sin and Karina dies, but we do manage to pick up the kill onto Shyvana and then Zeri. And now I'm actually just running down the Lux, flashing forward to finish off the kill on her, while Tryndamere finishes off the kill onto the Ahri. So we end up actually getting a ace there, kind of unexpected, but you know, of course it does end up working out for us. So here we pick up a stasis, and of course start building towards the Nash's Tooth. Here once again we're gonna go ahead and farm up the jungle. Of course, keeping our farm up really important as an ADC. Picking up the red buff as well. Nami out goes downtown and doesn't really hit anybody. Trying to find a pick onto the enemy team here. Baron has spawned. Of course, Baron spawning 1 minute earlier seems like it wouldn't make too much of a difference, but I found that it actually did make quite big of a difference here. Ahri gets caught by Nami's bubble, which allows me to pop my ulti onto her and allows me to kill her, spraying the ulti to the Lux as well. I stasis here to prevent myself from getting killed by Zeri. Here I actually managed to DPS down the Zeri, and Nasus is basically just running down my Nami. Here I'm just auto-attacking the Nasus as fast as I can, and the Lee Sin comes in to help me out, and we do manage to pick up the triple kill. Of course, getting the attack speed from like the kills onto the champions, as well as just general attack speed from Shield Bow and Phantom Dancer was really helpful in that exchange. Tryndamere manages to split push and actually take the inhibitor turret. And for some reason, he's attacking the base, which has a shield on it, when the whole enemy team is going to respawn soon. So he's not really going to do any kind of damage to the base because of that shield. And he can't exactly remove it by himself, so... And nothing really ends up happening there. But yeah, so here once again, we're of course just taking the farm in the jungle. Keeping our gold per minute in a healthy state. Now here you can see a fight is kind of going down mid. Shyvana already instantly gets popped by Katarina, and the rest of the enemy team is running for the hills. We can see Zeri just flashed there, and Tryndamere was kind of running her down. Now with the enemy Shyvana dead, I think this would be a decent time to actually go for Baron. But my team kind of... Tryndamere just randomly recalls at the spot where there was an enemy ward, and we actually saw the enemy ward. And that basically leads to us having to bail him out. And yeah, honestly nothing too much is happening here. The Ice Dragon is going to be spawning momentarily, so we're going to head over toward the Ice Dragon. Of course I'm going to head over towards getting the blue buff as well. And while waiting for my team to walk over here, I'm going to take the fruit to put myself up to basically almost full health and mana. And with the Skull kill, actually does put me to full health and mana. Enemy team of course doesn't really know whether we're doing this or not. Now that they popped the plan, they do know that we have just started it out. So expecting a contest here, so we're quickly trying to burst it down. I'm standing behind Nami so I don't get charmed by the Ahri. Now here I actually end up dying. But did manage to pop my ult. Katarina is able to clean up 2 kills. I did die to the Zeri. Honestly, what happened here is in real life I kind of just lagged for like a second there, which basically meant that I wasn't able to really do that much. I mean, honestly, even if I wasn't lagging, the only thing I could have really done is to stasis when Shyvana went in. Could have made the difference, but we will never really know because you know, it's over and we can't really replay the match. Okay, so now at this point, we do have double dragons, not triple dragon, not really that strong, but we are really far ahead in terms of our team's goal versus their team's goal. Our whole team is doing relatively well, whereas on their team, Zeri and Lux are doing alright, but no one else is really doing all that hot. Actually, honestly, to be fair, Ahri and Shyvana do have a very competitive goal as well, and Ahri was kind of a menace at the earlier stages of the game until we kind of shut her down to the point that she's no longer so scary. Here we can see Lee Sin going ahead and doing the Baron, and with Katarina and Tryndamere split pushing, I think this is a really intelligent call because any team would be busy trying to stop people from split pushing and they wouldn't really think too much about the Baron. Baron is also now so much more squishy, so it's a lot easier to take down. And as such, we're able to quickly secure Baron for our team. And here Tryndamere is going ham. He's flashing forward, going for the kills. And with the Baron buff, we can push in other lanes. Now, Tryndamere is pushing in the bot lane, which we already have the inhibitor for, so it's not really the best lane to push. But inadvertently, he is acting as a distraction. And this allows us to focus our attention on the other lanes, namely the mid lane. Shyvana is clearing out the top lane, so not too much is going to happen there. Here I managed to hit my ulti, and here we managed to pick up a double kill, and basically at this point the game is pretty much over. As you guys can see here, we're just gonna kite out, and here 53 health left on the base. I'm gonna hit my stasis and finally finish off the match before Ahri can kill me. And as usual, I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.